Captured by Women is brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow.
Hello lovely viewers, and it's another Saturday. We thank God that we have been allowed to come into your homes. It's your favorite show, Captured by Women, and we're proudly sponsored by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. So you want to tell a friend to get that Yum Vita for their child, because indeed it tastes nutritious and delicious. But this week there's been a lot of news and a lot of buzz, but the one that topped the headlines was the no-bed syndrome. All this was in light of the fact that a 70-year-old man lost his life because he was turned away from 7 hospitals who all had the same excuse of having no beds. We'll be finding out, is that enough, or is that problem with our emergency system, so that we address it. But Rosamond also has some of the headlines for this week.
Yes, Nana. So today we are going to be talking about the National Identification Authority exercise that is ongoing in Parliament, and the minority boycotting the exercise because of some issues that they have with it. And tomorrow is Father's Day, but we can all tell that the buzz is missing. Why? Well, we will interrogate that a bit later on the show. So stick and stay with us.
And then we'll also wish our Muslim brothers and sisters a happy Eid al-Fitr. I am Nana Ama Ajman,
and I am Rosamond Aide.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. So stay with us. Don't change the station.
Welcome back to the show. So tomorrow is Father's Day, and it's celebrated on different dates in different countries. And it's an occasion where we all celebrate and thank our fathers for their great care for us. But we all notice that the publicity, the bars, the promos are missing when you compare it to Mother's Day. Why is that, and what is accounting for this issue? We went on the streets to speak to the members of the public to hear what they had to say about this.
I think because mothers are the homemakers, they're always around, we have chance to enjoy them more, to feel their presence more than our fathers. So it's natural that on Mother's Day you have a lot of people being more aware and dedicating so much time and a love for mothers than fathers.
Mothers, to me, mothers, they show concern at home. So all the time they think about their children and all those. The fathers, they are busy going up and down. So to me, that's the reason why no much attention on Father's Day.
A lot of fathers, they don't take care of their children. That is why at times when it's Father's Day, people used to forget about it. For me, I really love my father, and I've lost my father. If my father is around, I wish I'll celebrate him. So I wish all fathers happy Father's Day.
I'm a father as well. But when you talk about Father's Day, what do I get to enjoy or to celebrate with? I'm serious minded about my business. I'm going about my business. I think.
So does it mean that you fathers are not really bothered whether we give it publicity or not?
Yeah, we don't give any this thing to it. I don't think that's. I think as a father, as I am, so others are. Others maybe, but I think majority of the fathers don't give attention to this issue of Father's Day.
If the child has a problem, they push them to the mother. If the child is crying, hey, come and take your mother. If the child goes wrong, you are like your mother. So everything is mother, mother, mother. So they're giving that privilege to the mother, and the mother are enjoying it. So it has to do with mother, we all know. Mother is cool. Mother, they're loving. Mother care for you. Everybody get towards who cares for them. Because even as a father, you also have a mother there. And you celebrate your mother more than your father. So
okay, so we've seen what people are saying about the low buzz that is typically associated with Father's Day. Amma, why is this? It's become like a pattern.
Yeah.
Why is it the case?
I actually think over the years it's improved. However, it's still low compared to Mother's Day. And I think it's because of our cultural setting and the way we are brought up, where mothers tend to be the people in direct contact with the children. So they appreciate what the mothers do more. Yeah. Whereas with a father, you don't seem to have tangibles to hold on to and say, my father did this with me or had that with me. It's always the father's the one at work providing money. So, I mean, as young as we are, you may not really appreciate what daddy does. But to a large extent, I have seen what my father does, and I think we celebrate him. And for me, it doesn't take Father's Day only to celebrate my father, but I'm looking at us celebrating men more. But they also know it comes with responsibilities, so they should live up to the task, and then naturally you be celebrated.
But I mean, I totally agree with you on the point about mothers being the primary caregivers. They are with the children most of the time, and they usually do take care of them. But when you flip it, there are some occasions where in some homes, it's the fathers that are the star figures.
Yeah.
So I don't understand this low bar.
But those homes are few. That's what.
Oh no,
but
on
majority
the contrary,
is the women.
It's the women, but the fathers also play key roles. So I don't understand.
That's what I'm saying. But when you're young, really, let's be honest with ourselves. When you're young, what do you really remember about daddy or doing with daddy,
well,
or getting from dad? No, we are exceptional because I also grew with my father. Yeah. I mean, I have a closer bond with my dad as compared to my mother. People who know me know that. But on the larger scale, we've got 29 million people. Let's look at that. It's not the same in every home. The story that tends to go around is the father is out there. He comes home late. He goes out early. So they don't have that bond or that connection. Although they may appreciate them, but it's not as grand as when it comes to the Mother's Day. That's what, and most often you see mothers sacrifice more, and it's visible. I mean, a mother wouldn't mind going around in tattered clothes and giving, you know, her child clothing, whereas a father will almost always look, you know, prim and proper to the child out there. So I think that's where it's coming from. But I think gradually we've gotten better. There used to be times where even Father's Day was not even mentioned. You don't see it in newspapers, nothing. But now at least it's getting some hype. We hope it matches up to mothers.
The men and the fathers are silently unhappy about it, because it's always the mothers that are in the spotlight. So I think we should all do more to celebrate our fathers, especially the ones that are, you know, that
and the fathers should advise their own colleagues to be more fatherly, so that the children can, I mean, it will be reciprocal. You don't even need to tell me to appreciate you on a particular day. On a, you know, regular, it will be seen, it will be shown.
But I think that the media also need to create the buzz. See,
of course.
When it's Mother's Day, they do all the promos and all that. But on Father's Day, it's like, it's a low budget thing.
But I'm sure when they do Father's Day, how many men go? They'll say, oh, they'll hang out with their boys and forget that they're even organizing something. Whereas if you tell women, let's congregate at National Theatre and have Mother's Day, we'll all quickly go, because women already want an exit, you know, route. They want somewhere to gather and discuss our issues. And women like to talk, whereas men, at the time you even mentioned Father's Day, he's strategizing how to pay the school fees, how to maintain his home. There's so much on his mind. He's like, okay, why should I go out and have fun? Maybe all those things come to play. But I'm sure, fathers, we appreciate you genuinely. I mean, we hope you live up to the task more. That's real. On the ground, majority of fathers are not felt at home. So we're hoping that they open up. Our culture doesn't seem to allow them to do that naturally. It comes with experience and actually wanting to be close with, you know, the children. Otherwise, most children grab distance from their fathers by our cultural upbringing. But I think maybe
modern day fathers are a bit different. They're hands-on, they're at home, they're trying to engage with the kids and be there, you know, and be seen in the home. So we hope that tomorrow you take your fathers out, treat them, and give them all the surprises that they deserve. Please stay and stay with us. The show continues.
So on Big Bang today, we're discussing a very topical issue, the no-bed syndrome, and the way it has affected our country. This week, a 70-year-old man died because he was turned away from 7 hospitals, all with the excuse of having no bed. Well, this issue was spoken about in Parliament, and the Speaker of Parliament seemed to have a very harsh word for the doctors and health practitioners. And they also have a word from the Ghana Health Service asking or directing all medical practitioners not to turn away patients, even with a no-bed syndrome excuse. But we want to delve deeper into it, and we're joined by Dr. Kwekwa Asante-Krobia. He is the president for the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
I mean, this issue of no-bed syndrome is not new to us, but I guess the main discussion is the fact that we're shifting attention from the fact that our system doesn't provide adequacy to support emergency cases, rather to blaming doctors and health professionals. What really is your thought about this no-bed syndrome?
Well, thank you very much. You have rightly said that it is not a new thing. The practice of seeing patients and referring to other medical centers for continued continuing care. But the situation we have in our hand now is a different case altogether. I thought that the medical practitioners involved in this whole scenario were doing the right thing, because at least we have it on record that the very first place that the deceased went to he was given the necessary first aid attention, and then he was referred to serially through the hospitals which names have been listed. And it beats my imagination why somebody could conjecture that the medical personnel that in whose hands that the patient passed through didn't do due diligence to their dutiful medical practice. Because if a patient passes through the hands of a medical practitioner on referral trail, and I see the patient as being conscious, and I look through his papers, and I know that he's been referred to me or my facility, and I believe that I don't have a bed, I think once I see that the patient's condition is stable, the best thing I can do is to request that he tries the next hospital. So if the true story is told, that indeed the patient was not in a stable condition, but the medical personnel refused to even see the patient, then it is bad enough.
Very well.
And so, doctor, are you saying that from what you've said, you are disputing the circumstances that occurred at the various hospitals, i.e. that you find it a bit unbelievable that the health workers just shoved them away without giving them care? Are you then saying that that is what happened? For C&J, the first place they visited, which, as you rightly said, that happened. But subsequently, the information we have is that once they arrived there, they were just looked at, and the age of the man was sought for and immediately was mentioned. You know, they were just shoved off. So are you disputing that, what that happened?
I'm not disputing it. What I'm saying is that C&J saw the patients. They gave the necessary first aid attention, and from what you read on the records, the patient's condition was stabilized, and then the patient's transfer to the next hospital was ordered. So I'm saying that if you went to the next hospital and the medical personnel that received the patient saw that the patient's condition was okay and he was in a stable condition, and you read through his papers and you know that he's been referred to the center, and the center doesn't have a bed, the best thing to do is to request that he be transferred to another hospital. That's what I'm saying, that if indeed it happened, and I'm not disputing it, I'm giving the reporters the benefit of the doubt, that if indeed the medical personnel didn't look at the patient, or if they did look at the patient, they found out that the patient's condition was not stable, then they didn't do the right thing. But if they looked at the patient and found out that the patient was in a stable condition and his medical records show that he is on transfer, then the right thing was done.
Very well. But I mean, recently the talk has also been that we should move away from the no bed syndrome, and whatever state your hospital is in, your facility is in, being that you don't have a bed, make some efforts to still take care of the patient. How feasible or how practical is this going to be on the field?
Well, that is feasible and it is practicable, because under no circumstance must we receive a patient in an unstable condition and refuse to do something, except that, of course, the capacity of the facility in terms of equipment and the medical staff specialties and the skill mix is lacking, because we see situations where a patient will arrive at the emergency center, the personnel that the patient goes to meet may not have the necessary expertise to deal with the condition, and so when they are found wanting or they feel inadequate, what they are likely to do is to refuse to make any attempt to even touch the patient. especially when they see that the patient condition is such that transfer to another or the nearest facility will not cause any problem.
We know the stark realities that persist in our hospitals, and I think the Ghana Medical Association has issued a statement actually enumerating the issues that consist of both systemic issues and individual factors. So I ask that because we know that there are issues with facilities, with processes, with systems, that the hospitals are ill-equipped, and therefore on the back of this directive, is that tenable, is that sustainable? Because there are real deep issues that must be looked at. The hospitals must be equipped, in addition to making sure that the attitudinal part of the equation is also looked at. So that is why I asked you that question, because there are real issues here. Yes, there are attitudinal issues, but hospitals must also be equipped, especially given the fact that this is not a new issue. It's like we've had this conversation over and over again. So it points back to systemic failures in the healthcare system that must be dealt with fundamentally. So that's why I was asking you that question.
I think that the Director General and the Honorable Minister, what they are talking about is not about transfer of the patient. It is about refusal to give attention. And I'm saying here that it doesn't normally happen that we look at patients and where something has to be done, we refuse to do. But if it has happened in some cases, I think what they are saying is that it mustn't happen again. But they are also not saying that under no circumstance must we transfer. As for that, we will do. If after stabilizing patients and we feel that we don't have beds to admit the patient and continue the care, and we have to, refer, that
certainly will be done. Yes, must be done.
Dr. Asante Krobi, I would like you, to wrap up with talking about the referral system, including ambulance services in Ghana, because that really cripples us, in the sense that you have a patient you want to refer because of the conditions you said. Maybe the expertise is lacking in the particular hospital he visited, or you don't have the equipment to do so. But it takes about 4 hours to get through to the referral site to actually tell you there's a bed available, then to get the ambulance to come and pick that patient to go. These are the stark realities on the ground. How do we address it moving forward?
You are right. It does mean that we have to have adequate numbers of the ambulances. We have to, and not only having the ambulances, but we should have the ambulance in a functional state. We watched a video where an ambulance didn't even have a siren, and so it took the driver a hard time to travel from the starting point to his destination. And it causes problem. And at the arrival at the center of referral, there was not even, the facility didn't even have a wheelchair or stretchers to pick up the patient to the right place where medical attention could be given. So we have to look at all these things. These are the true situation of difficulty within our medical system, so we have to look at that. But I should also think that the employer and government also have to ensure that adequate provision is made. So we have the right systems in place, the equipment, and even the skills. As I speak to you, for in the area of nursing, the personnel we have in many places are made up of a good number, which I'll call unacceptable, of auxiliary nurses, who most of the time are found wanting when dealing with or handling emergencies. Instead of having the right ratio of 60% professionals and 40% auxiliaries, the reverse is the case. And even the best of places in the UK and the Americas, because of the increased global burden of disease and the fact that disease conditions are becoming more complex, bringing onto difficulties into the handling of these cases, they are even looking at 70% of professionals against 30% of auxiliaries. Where we are in Ghana, I think we have to do more. That is scaling down the training of the auxiliaries, increase the training of the professionals, because I had a school, a graduate school of nursing, that trains practicing nurses to specialize in critical care.
Right.
I think we need more of those at the emergency centers. At least it should be possible for every nurse at the emergency center or the OPDs to be able to know how to perform basic cardiopulmonary resuscitation for every patient. This we don't have many of the nurses trained in this to do, and so it could happen that if patients fall in the hands of nurses who don't have the confidence enough to deal with the matter, and it's not only about on the part of the nurses, all the doctors and all the others must have the requisite training in handling the emergencies. So I will also say that it's not just enough that the Director General would issue these instructions, where we thank him, we thank the Honorable Minister also. We will do well to comply. Right. But the big burden requires a shared responsibility. If the medical personnel will do their part, they should also do their part to ensure that we have the friendly environment to discharge our care duties, and then we have they should scale up to make efforts to ensure that if we have a bed that's a hospital or a ward that does not have adequate beds, we should make the provisions, because the health personnel the health care professionals cannot be blamed all the time for all these lapses.
And on that note, we'd like to say a very big thank you to Dr. Kweku Asante Krobia. He's the president for the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, and he has been talking to us about the no-bed syndrome and the best way forward. Well, the doctors and health professionals will take some of the blame, but the government also has an onus to make sure they provide everything within the system to make sure it works efficiently. On that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with Big Bang 2.
So thanks for staying with us. The National Identification Authority on Tuesday began registering members of parliament and some parliamentary staff. Unfortunately, the minority have boycotted the exercise until a determination on the issue of the voter ID card in the use of the process. We have been joined by Honorable Alhaji Inusa Hussaini, who is the ranking member on the Constitutional, Parliamentary and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, to discuss the issue and understand their reasons for boycotting the exercise. Honorable, you're welcome to Captured by Women.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
So we basically want to get your understanding. I mean, you held a press conference and sort of insisted that the law allows the use of the voter ID cards, but the NIA is also insistent that the LI governing the process disallows it. So what accounts for the different interpretation of the law?
Well, thank you so very much for this opportunity, and it's really interesting and nice to be captured by women. And I'm happy you introduced me as the ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. What was brought to us for consideration as a committee was that NIA had argued that because we were intending to put a lot of features on the card, we needed to expand the field of information to be collected of the individual. Right. So we have got a digital address. So you needed a digital address of the applicant. We needed many other things of the applicant. So we thought it was reasonable and proper that we amend the law to allow for the gathering of that information, because without a law empowering them to gather that information, they cannot gather that information.
So, Honorable, let me step in, because right now you're going to court. What exactly are you going to court to seek? Is it interpretation of the law?
Enforcement.
Enforcement of the law?
Yes.
Which
of the laws? The LI or the
Constitution.
Article 24?
And what will that be? What does the Constitution say in
your view? The Constitution, Article 42, is the only provision in the laws of Ghana which says that a Ghanaian citizen must possess a voter ID card. Okay? A Ghanaian citizen, a non-Ghanaian can possess a passport. If the president, in his view, is minded to say, well, because of the difficulties of this person in his home country, we as a country will give him a passport. You don't need to be a Ghanaian to possess a Ghanaian passport.
Right.
Okay. A birth certificate is a record of birth. Any person born in Ghana at any time has to be given a birth certificate, whether he's a Ghanaian or a non-Ghanaian. They are saying that LI 2356 excludes the use of a voter ID card, and the law Act 950 by its section 3 also excludes the use of voter ID card.
For the national identification card, isn't it?
It is not so.
Right.
When you look at section 3 of the Act 950, and I explained this to Atefa, Professor Atefa, the Executive Secretary of NIA. First, produce a birth certificate or a passport or a resident permit or evidence of naturalization or any other document. Clearly, it means the 4 is not exhaustive.
But Honourable, isn't it the case that the provisions allows people who do not have either the required documents to bring a guarantor and a commissioner of oath to aid the process if they want to register? So does that not remedy your issue with the current arrangement?
Rosemond, that's a very good question. NIA is a service provider. You must make the delivery of any service to a customer not only convenient, but also easy, accessible. If not, no customer will buy your this thing. I mean, you must. Convenience is a very important element of delivering a service. Making it accessible is. You will put impediments on the way of the person. You are invariably driving that person away from the process. But here, NIA itself says those who possess birth certificates, passports, the resident permit, and evidence of naturalization will constitute about 7 million of the population. Meanwhile, you are targeting 29 million. So the difference of 22 million people. So you want the 22 million Ghanaians to always be accompanied by 2 members of their family.
Or otherwise, go and get a birth certificate done.
Or otherwise, go and get a birth. I thought that if a person is already born and has no birth certificate and he's to go and do a birth certificate,
but with the issue of us having the
to
abuse and
more
errors
than
and all
even
that.
But in the current system, Elijah, I hear you and I understand you. But in the current system, really, we're moving from the old system of the birth certificate to the biometric, and so really, going on to a new one will not necessarily be abuse in this system because you're changing the kind of biometrics you have attached to the birth certificate. So someone will argue that, well, you're just starting the process afresh and it's allowed.
Yeah, you're starting the process afresh. But why do you start the process afresh when there are already platforms? I thought that ICT means integrated communications technologies. It should be integrated. It's not. You're not creating silos, are you?
No.
You're not creating silos. So if you have a electoral commission with a biometric data of citizens who otherwise are Ghanaians, and you want to register Ghanaians, I think the proper thing, that's why the cost comes in. The proper thing is to ride on the platform which already exists to be able to do that. So you reduce costs. But what we are simply saying in interpretation, and again, you pardon me because as ladies, if I use maybe that will woo you. The fact is that by interpretation, if you have birth certificate, you have a passport, you have resident permit, you have evidence of naturalization, and any other. Just a generic rule of interpretation simply tells you that should be consistent with what is. So it means that any other will be a document in the nature of what is before.
Very well. Anyway. But also to touch on the fact, if you go to court and the court allows it to stay, you would have, implicated the cost because now you've increased it in the sense that NIA has to come back to Parliament to ensure that the minority that boycotted comes onto the roll. What happens then?
But has repeated mistakes ever been considered as experience? If they have if they have committed mistakes and we have, by our action, reduced the propensity and consequence of that mistake, how can that be cost?
So on the flip side, if the court says what NIA is doing is right, what happens?
Well, so the court has spoken.
Yeah.
So you will go back and register.
Thank you very much for joining us. So I guess we'll see how this rolls out in the coming weeks. Stick and stay with us. The show continues.
So on Career Women today, interestingly, we are celebrating our fathers, and that shows how much of influence we think you have in our lives, and we're so grateful. We'll step out on the streets and see what we all have to say about our fathers and celebrate them in the light of Father's Day, which is coming on tomorrow. So let's watch this.
Hello and welcome. It's Father's Day. My guest is a father of 4, 3 daughters and a son. Together with his wife, they've had to raise them hardly away from the prying eyes of the public, and in some very tense moments too. My guest is former President Rawlings. Thank you.
Thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You got married in 1977. By 78, you had your first child. By 79, you were thrusted into political office. That's pretty dramatic for a first-time father. Tell us about it.
Those were very trying times for all of us, for the country. Before I got married, I could foresee my life. I knew we were going to go through some turbulent times. I couldn't help feeling responsible for wanting to contribute to stop this decay, you know. And it was partly the reason why I wanted to join the forces. I mean, even though marrying somebody like Nana has always been my dream, the interesting thing is that we ended up mutually complementing each other in our political thoughts, in our sense of responsibility.
But it must have been tough because you were both first-time parents. How did you cope?
It was tough, my dear. And thinking of the cost of even buying a simple furniture, you know, as a married couple, infuriated me. It was too expensive. It didn't make sense. So each time after work, my work, I would go to some carpenter's shed. I was trying to build, what do you call it, a crib? A bed for our daughter.
During those times, you weren't home most of the time.
Oh, no. It was...
But you were excited as a new father.
Oh, I mean, being a father, you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared. It's a great privilege.
And so for almost 20 years, you were head of state and you were president. Would you say that you were able to perform that father role to your children, to your satisfaction? Because I'm sure it's a pretty demanding job, combining that with family.
Sweetheart, I will not lie to you. I wish I could have done more, but circumstances made it very difficult for me. And 2, I mean, in a way, this is why I would say, I mean, it's their mother who did the most for all our children, in spite of building the 31st December Women's Movement, traveling and crisscrossing the country, and helping to introduce various skills, etc., etc. No, Nana did a lot. And mind you, originally, as excited as I was, much as I love the children, circumstances didn't allow me to. And the fear, you know, of anything happening to me was always in the back of my mind. So that I deliberately did not want them to be badly affected if I died. You see what I mean? So much as I loved them, much as I wanted to be with them, to hold them, etc., it was something I had to deny myself so that they wouldn't get that emotionally attached to me. Until I felt things were safe enough, you know, to relate to them. So it's a lot of credit I would give to Nana, more than myself, yes. But that is not to say that I don't have an idea of do's and don'ts, you see what I mean? No. I've had a hard time growing up. I know the kind of iron discipline some of us were taken through. I mean, you can bring up children without necessarily taking them through the kind of situation we had to go through, you know? Logic, trait, and reasoning, yes, than just the use of the whip all the time.
So you do have 3 lovely daughters,
yes,
and a son.
Yes.
You have the opportunity of raising both gender. Is there any difference in raising them?
No. You raise them with the same values. And the beauty, people used to think I must have been having a problem just having girls. But they made me more and more compassionate, you know. Besides seeing how great they could be, that's why I didn't hesitate to prove how good girls could be as good as boys. Okay? And that's what, and I did it for a political purpose. I keep on saying it, why I trained my first daughter to do what she did. And so she was a good leader for her siblings, and she virtually also became the third factor in helping to bring up the one after her, and vice versa, you see what I mean? And that's also transmitted down. So by the time Kimathi was born, I mean, he had how many parents? 5. Yes, you know, guardians and whatnots. But I must admit that my daughter, the first one, the second one just had a baby not too long ago. Zanetta is probably one of the finest mothers I've come across in terms of how she relates to her children and how she's been able to bring them up. Fantastic, you know? I shouldn't be saying...
She's also into politics now, like you, parents, you know, into politics.
Yes.
Do you have any fears for her? I mean, you were saying that you wished you were closer to them from the very beginning, you know, because of politics and all that. Now she's into politics herself and she's a parent. Any fears for that?
No, but she just regrets the fact that the MP situation takes up and Parliament take up so much of her time that she's unable to have as much time as she used to and would have wished to have with her children, okay? So she's trying. She can't do otherwise. Right. She can't spend all the time with them as she would have loved to. To be a responsible father is a must. To be a father and to be responsible is a godly duty.
Right.
But some of us, like physiological, biological fathers, and having children like is a secondary byproduct of our sexual urge. And we don't care for the pregnancy. We don't care for that life that's been born. So in effect, let me take this opportunity to say a big thank you to fatherhood, to responsible fathers. All the children who've been had accidentally, persistently, all the time, could have grown up to be very irresponsible. But so many of them, you know, have to struggle through life the way they do to earn money for their fees, where they sleep, what they eat, through the struggle, through life, looking for a skill, work to do. And they were born through no fault of theirs, through an unplanned situation, through somebody's search for pleasure. And these kids have to bear this pain in the growing up process. I say congratulations to them as well for the efforts they're making. You don't need that much money to impart, you know, a sense of discipline in your child, to be a good counselor to your child, to be friendly to your child when they reach the appropriate age to be a teacher to your child. Let's not leave all this burden onto the mothers, onto the women. It's very much our responsibility as well.
Former President Rollins, thank you.
And thank you
and
too.
And a happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much.
And from all of us at Media General, we do have a little something for you for Father's Day.
Thank you. Mind if I open it right now?
Please do.
This is nice.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, indeed, fathers are celebrated. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish my father, my special one, my numero uno, a happy Father's Day. I appreciate you and all the things you've done for us, the big, big sacrifices. And I hope you inspire other younger men to grow to be good fathers.
Yes,
President.
I would also like to wish my father, Mr. Samson Ishen, a very happy Father's Day. Dad, you know you are my first love, my sweetest darling. I love you so much. Thank you for being there. Thank you for taking care of me. I'm most grateful. Happy Father's Day to you, Daddy.
I'm sure, I mean, some people, special people in your life will be like, really? Okay, so where did you just put me? But we appreciate you all. You know the category, the husband,
yes, the husband, the father figures,
also there.
Male lecturers. Thank you all. Thank you all. We love you.
Yeah, we love you. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with Lifestyle.
So on Lifestyle today, we are discussing men's grooming. And to you, the men out there, how do you take care of yourself to look presentable, to look well kept, and to actually carve a special brand for yourself? Let's watch this clip that shares information on just how to do that.
Today on Lifestyle, we're talking about grooming for men, appearing the gentleman that you are, which seems to be a problem these days. We will get to know all that there is to know when it comes to those things. But I have with me one of Ghana's very finest fashion designers in the person of Patrick Pukwa-Sante, the CEO of House of Eccentrics, one of Ghana's fashion brands that is making headways and doing so well. I want to find out from you, first of all, when you talk about grooming, is it just for the affluent in society, or what is grooming basically? Because certain people come to mind when you mention the word grooming.
Grooming simply is how you prepare or how you get ready for an event or activity, or how you train someone or yourself for an event or activity. But it looks like the perception, because I don't know if it's because of the English, the perception that people normally have on grooming is something else. If you see a man getting ready to go to or saying that, oh, I have the function, I have to go, I have to look good, then it means that he is going to see their in-laws. Then you see them putting a few things. We need this almost every day. There are basic necessities that every ordinary man would have to have in his wardrobe or a bag or something like that. Something like a black trousers, a brown coffee trousers, or navy should be one of the essential trousers or colors of trousers that a man must have in his suits or his clothes. And then also a good black pair of shoes, and then a slippers. Because I say a slippers, a black slippers or sandals, let me put it that way, because of the kind of the way we Ghanaians dress. Because let's look at define a Ghanaian man by the way they actually, by the way they live. They go to work and they go to church. They go to outdoorings and they go to funerals. When they go to work, they actually look a bit different because most of them are in the corporate world and would want to dress as such. But then what about people who are also doing their own thing? How do they dress? And then when they're going to church, what do you see them in church? Where in church, sometimes you see them wearing the same in funerals and the same thing also and outdoorings or other functions. So then you realize that looking at them or putting all together, you can tell that Ghanaians or Ghanaian men actually frequent work and then other social gatherings like funerals, and what they wear is either it's a tie, a shirt, and then a kaftan. So if you're wearing a tie, then you should have at least a good black shoe. if you're wearing kaftan, you also should have a good sandals, or that can match up. The other shoes too that also would also wear well, or will look good with kaftan, something like a loafer, or shoes that are not so high, will also sometimes look good with kaftans and the rest.
Yes, so Patrick, you talk about kaftan, and then we see it a lot in churches, social gatherings, especially funerals and other places, and you see men wearing kaftan with shoe. Which one is the appropriate way to go? Should it be a normal corporate shoe, a slippers? What was the norm?
Kaftan normally goes with sandals and nice slippers, like we put it. And sometimes, if it has to be a shoe, then it shouldn't be a corporate shoe. A shoe that has lace, a loafer, for instance, would also wear well with a kaftan.
And let's talk about colors. These days, we see a lot in town, men blocking colors, wild or what people call gay colors and all that. But how do you put these colors together when you want to go out as a normal man? You want to visit a friend or your in-law, as you put it. What should you be conscious of when putting certain things together?
Yes, colors, for instance, is one of the most important aspects when it comes to putting clothes together, because it's actually the basis of all. Especially if a man should go out and buy anything new into his wardrobe, then what do you have to look at? You go back and then see what actually you have there before you even buy, because whatever you are getting into your wardrobe should also match up with some other things. So what I say is that you should, if you are very good with colors, and people are very good at combining or putting colors together, then you can contrast them. Otherwise, then I think the best way to go about it is to just harmonize the colors. When I say harmonizing colors, meaning that, putting colors of the same shades together, that is very easier to match. So before you even get anything into your wardrobe, the first you ask yourself, what do I have there already? Or whatever I have there, would it match with area? Because perhaps we don't have the money to buy almost a complete set of outfits or the costume for it. So you ask yourself, what do I have there already? So what do I have to get in addition just to match it up? If you are not strong enough or you are not good with colors or combining colors, don't do it at all, because it can really kill your style. You understand? It's very important that you actually know what it is. Some people too are very bold and they are able to put it together. Then you can go about it as such. But otherwise, I'll say it's better you harmonize them, or you go with what you know. One of the best way to do is that, okay, let me look at the sky and let me look at the ground. Light blue and brown matches. So let me look at the leaves. Oh, a pink rose in the foliage, or in the green leaves. Oh, it's nature, it matches. Oh, okay, let me see black and white. Black and white is always done, sort of. So if you are not very sure or you don't know how to combine them, you can also compare that to nature and then see or other things that have actually are there already. Do you understand? And then put them together, and then I think you'll be on track. Otherwise, then you should seek for an advice.
So you spoke about harmonizing. For instance, what constitutes harmonizing? Does it mean you wear a pink pants, a pink shirt, a pink shoe?
It could be pink, but in different shades. It could be pink, but in different shades. But of course, it shouldn't be pink and a light pink and then light pink shoes. That would be too boring. So you can just break it in. What I mean is that you know that the basic colors, sometimes black, when it comes to shoes, black and then coffee are one of the basic colors when it comes to shoes. So what you do is that for a man especially, for women it's a different thing also, but for a man, there are certain colors that will look so strong for a man to wear. Even though, fashion doesn't really specify what you need to wear, but then, there are certain things automatically won't look good on a man, especially very colorful clothes. Do you understand? Sometimes I even see some of the men, the prints that they even pick to wear, and I ask myself, why would a man pick a thing like that? It's true, it's an African print, but then at least you should also tone it down in a way so that it can suit you and they look good on you. Do you understand? So there are certain colors you shouldn't have to, but otherwise, like I say, harmonizing colors. You can pick a light blue and then a navy blue trousers. Do you understand? A dark or a green black trousers and a lime green shirt will look good on somebody who is quite darker. Or perhaps something like a brown and then a pale yellow top. You know, that's this. You know, they go hand in hand with each other. You know, when especially those who did art would understand what I'm trying to say. Harmonizing, you know, you have the primary colors, and then we have the secondary colors. The primary colors for the secondary colors are a combination of the primary colors, and then anything that combines the secondary colors can be worn together in harmony.
Very well. Then let's come to ties, for instance, bow ties, flying ties. What appropriate time or event do you wear these things? So sometimes you see people wear bow tie, for instance, to an office on a day, on a jeans, a sneaker, a blazer, and a bow tie, and then sometimes you get confused as to how well these things should be done.
Bow ties are more formal, and they should be left for formal events like weddings, like black tie events, evening dinners, and the rest. And then for corporate day wear, you know, your fly, even that alone, your colors should even show. Because we have corporate colors like black, navy, coffee, and the rest. So if you realize that it's going to be like a cocktail dinner, you can just go a tie and then your trousers, and then you wear your vest on top of it to match with. If it's going to be so corporate, then it means you can still wear your vest, your tie, and then you wear your bow tie to match it. Or otherwise, a simple shirt and tie will do. And then, you know, because it's not so formal, you could also sometimes fold your sleeves to the elbow. Do you understand? Because you'll be touching wine, you'll be holding people, you'll be touching food, so you don't stain them.
Why should anybody be bothered about these things?
Yeah, because somebody will say that after all, you can't judge a book by its cover. After all, appearances are deceptive. Not always. Not always. You know, the way we look is very important. It even affects our mood. Because when you wake up in the morning, step out from your house, and somebody says, you look good, and then you become very confident in yourself, and you become very happy. The same way you wake up and get out and, these shoes, I don't think matches what you're wearing, or I don't think you look good. Then you realize that you become disappointed, and then your spirit is sort of damping, you know, sort of. So it's very important that, you know, whatever we wear, depending on the occasion, should be the type that we ourselves will feel confident in it.
Yes, and I've been speaking with Patrick Poku-Asante, the CEO of House of Eccentrics, as you heard him. It actually doesn't cost so much to look good. It's all about putting everything together and spending time and then being conscious of where you are going and what time even the event is. You're still watching Captured by Women. We are back with more. Please stay.
All too soon, it's a wrap on the show. But we started off by celebrating our fathers. Happy Father's Day in advance. And then also we spoke about the 70-year-old man who passed away earlier this week. And we talked about the no-bet syndrome and how to curb this with Dr. Kweku Asante Krobia. Then we also went to talk about the NIA process that has been boycotted by the minority, and they're stepping to court to find interpretation of the law to allow the voter's ID to be used as a form of identification in the registration process. And then we also went to celebrate fathers in light of Father's Day, which is tomorrow. Finally, we spoke about grooming, how to keep yourself well so that woman on the street sees you and thinks twice about you. But guys, it has been an interesting show, and I didn't do it alone. I did it with Rosemond, and we're saying goodbye. We'll see you same time next week. Make a date with us and enjoy the Eid al-Fitr. Happy Eid al-Fitr to our Muslim brothers and sisters again. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Captured by Women is brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow.